Good afternoon. My name's Nayoka Lynn and happy Friday. So before I get started with what I wanted to share today, there's one thing I want to share first. So yesterday morning, after my prayer and meditation, and I read a little bit, I sat there quiet and I was listening to the birds. I had my windows open and the birds were just chirping all over the place. And I've always loved that. I miss that. I miss that in Florida, the big tropical birds. They were very noisy. But anyway, so I was listening to the birds and I said to Spirit and my spirit team, I said, why don't you just come up to the window and say hi, right? And I sat there a few minutes and nothing happened. And then I looked at the time and I knew I had to hurry up and get ready for this meeting that I was going to. And so we had the meeting and I left the community room that it was in. And I always walk by this row of windows and I always check on the plants that have been planted to see their growth, and they're just coming along so nicely. Then out of nowhere, this little bird flew up to the window. Okay, now it wasn't, the head here and the tail here and the wings on the side. No, this thing come up so that his head's here and his tail's here, and he just hovered maybe about 8 inches from the window. And I had chills and I was like, oh my God, hi. Now, that might seem silly to some, but that's what I asked for. That's what I asked Spirit for. Why don't you come up to the window and said hi? Now, it didn't happen immediately, but it happened just not long after. So I wanted to share that because that was really special to me. I loved it. So, so last night I was thinking about a few things. I kept hearing over and over in my mind things that were said by people from my past that I knew that were going through things. Things that I said over the course of my lifetime that it was like I could hear myself saying these things. And basically what it was beating myself up. They were beating themselves up. One person that I was in relationship with a couple of years, he had a drug addiction problem, and he would do good, and then all of a sudden, boom, I wouldn't see him for 3 or 4 days. He'd be gone, and he'd come back, and he used to say, I know, I'm a fuck up. Excuse my mouth, this is what he used to say. I know I'm a fuck up, I'm just an asshole. And there were days that I agreed with him, but yeah, so I kept hearing that, and I kept hearing other people say different things. And then this morning, sitting there in my chair, I started thinking. What triggered it also this morning was I heard something somebody said online. And then I think about some of the videos that I've made, how I say we have to rid ourselves of fear-based beliefs and everything. But I want everybody to understand one thing. You gotta love where you're at when you're at it. Yeah. I know that sounds cuckoo, but just the other day I was going through pictures and I was looking at pictures of myself at different phases of my life. And I remember thinking, oh, man, that was a dark place. Oh, yeah. Oh, girl, if you only knew what you were in for, and I was playing with it a little bit. But I remember a time where I kind of hated where I was, And I got to tell you, from my early 20s to my mid 40s, what a ride. I had been through some things, jumped some hurdles. Oh my Lord. And it was like they were one right after another, right after another. I was tired. I was getting beat down. It was hard. And but I can remember a time where I looked back and thought I despised me at that time, because I thought, what was wrong with you? How did you get to that place? I was conditioned. There was nothing wrong with me. I'd been conditioned. I'd been conditioned to think certain ways, feel certain ways about things. I didn't know how to process things. I didn't know how to unpack things. So now, now I can look back and embrace those people that I was. Yeah, I love those people. hmm Those people led me to me. So there was one picture I wanted to share today. And the reason this picture is so special to me is because it was during this time that I learned my self-worth. Or should I say, I started to learn my self-worth. I don't know if you can see this, but this was me in 2005. Yeah, the summer of 2005. I started to recognize that I didn't have to put up with bad behaviors, and I started to recognize that it was okay to love me and put me first. So yeah, I looked over those pictures. But again, like I said, I was thinking about different things that people said. And here's what I want to say about that. If I'm in kindergarten, I'm starting out in my learning. If I'm in kindergarten, I do what a kindergarten kid does. I color. I learn my ABCs, maybe 1, 2, 3s, you know. Then I go to the first grade. But it took kindergarten to get me to the first grade. Now in first grade, I learn a little more. Second grade, a little more, okay? Now, say I'm in junior high school. I don't look back at kindergarten and first grade with despair or with just disdain. I don't look at those early years. Actually, I think I would look back at them and have good memories about them. Well, that's what I think we should do about us. Yeah, maybe we were not where we wanted to be, but we were there. Nothing is really wrong. No place is really wrong. My thing is this: if you're not happy where you're at, and you feel confused and you feel stuck, or never stuck, but if you feel like you're stuck, if you're not happy in your life, in where you live, the people that are around you, whatever it might be, you're there because you're supposed to be there for one reason or another. The world mirrors us. Everything is vibration. Everything starts in your mind. Mm-hmm. Everything starts in your mind. Before I actually do something, even if it's a brief thought, I do it. Some things that we do over and over and over again, we almost hardly have to think about it, but we thought about it first. Yeah. Every place you are, whether you feel like you're happy there or unhappy there, is an opportunity to grow. Even when we are in dark places, okay, and we're not sure where we need to go or what to do or how to get there, always go inward. It's an opportunity. Don't despise where you're at. You're not hopeless or helpless. You have a mind. These dark places that we get ourselves into, they're opportunities. They're opportunities to grow. But it depends on how you respond to it. Mm-hmm. Now, if you're in a dark place in your life and you think, oh, this sucks, and I don't know how to get out of this. I just keep doing the same things over and over again. Nothing works out for me. I want you to stop and think about something. Does it not spark a desire for better? That's what it's designed for. That's what it's designed for. It's like you go along in life, and you feel like you're doing okay, and then all of a sudden something happens and you're stopped. And it's like maybe some chaos breaks out. Maybe your relationship goes to crap. Maybe you're homeless. Maybe you've married up with some addictions or something. Whatever that is, that's an unhappy place. Okay, that unhappy place was designed to spark up some desire for better. Yeah. If I'm at a job that I despise, I want a better job. Yeah. If I'm in a relationship that seems to be going nowhere, and I just keep getting hurt, and I'm the only one who wants to grow in it, and the other person is just not going to grow, it made it very clear, this is who I am. That's its spirits telling you, hey, I'm a soul lesson. Okay, but when you see repeated behaviors and you're getting nowhere, you desire a better relationship. Any place that we're at, everything changes, everything flows. Change is a constant. Okay, it's not a bad thing to change. We're supposed to change, but we don't despise where we've been. Listen, everything is vibration. If you are despising where you've been, there's your focus. That's a low vibration. Your focus is despising where you've been. Your focus is on it. You're going to get more of it. Yeah. Be grateful for where you've been. Be grateful you're out of there. And keep your head straight. Keep your head straight. Appreciate where you are now. If you desire better, focus on better. How do I focus on better? Think about what you want. Everything starts in your mind. Get that vibration going of what you want. What do you want? Now that you know what you want, get busy and get happy. Yeah. Don't sit there and brood about where you are or about what you don't want, because that's where your focus is. I know a lot of times on, I'll say FB, I don't know if I can say it on here, but a lot of times on that platform, that social media, people will send me stuff about, like and share if you're an advocate, I guess, against fighting cancer or fighting this or fighting that. I'm not going to share that, because as soon as you start fighting against anything, that's your focus. That's resistance. You just pull it to you. There's more of it. You create more of it. That's why the folks, I will call them folks, the folks that want to keep us in control, they don't care if you don't like what's going on in the world. They don't care, because they already know how the universe works. They know that all this attention, all this disdain that you're putting towards everything that's going on, all the chaos, it's feeding them. They're feeding off it. So they don't care if you make 100 posts about how horrific this is, how horrific that is, and you're out in the street against racism, and nobody likes racism. But if you're marching and saying all kind of things, and I know a lot of people are going to get irritated about this, but I'm going to tell you something. They like division. Division is a low frequency. They don't want us to come together. They don't want us to know that we are all connected. They don't want to know that we are empowered by our thoughts, our frequency. So if you're having a fit and separating yourself from one group to the other, that's why. Here's another thing that got my attention, was we always separate ourselves. It's a black church. It's a white church. It's a Hispanic church. Why can't it be a church? This holiday is a black holiday. That holiday, I don't think there is any white holidays. But what I'm saying is the division. They don't care. They don't care if you don't like what's going on. Your attention to it, your focus to it, you're rallying against something. If you're rallying against racism, you are creating more racism, more division. Yeah, that's how it works. So when I get sent these things, like and share if you're fighting against cancer. No. Instead, let's rally for wellness. Let's rally for wellness. Yeah. It's okay to understand or recognize that certain things like foods, it's okay to understand that, hey, these things aren't so good for you, but rather choose this healthier option. Because yes, things have been manipulated over lifetimes. But our focus on the negative all the time, it's not helping. It's creating more of it. So whatever you focus on, you're creating more of it. If you are focusing on all the bad things in your life, you're creating more of it. Everything is vibration. You, human being, are an energy being with a frequency. You vibrate. This vibrates. This vibrates. This vibrates. You just can't see it. You think this has no life? This is alive. This is alive. It's alive. You think this frame is not alive? This frame vibrates. Everything vibrates. Everything has a frequency. So you vibrate, you have a frequency, human, but you can alter your frequency. You can change things up. How? Everything starts with a thought. Everything starts with a thought. Now, what you think about something is either going to make you happy or not. If I'm planting seeds of disdain, if my thoughts are towards, say, a particular relationship I was in when I was younger, if I'm just looking for all the bad stuff and I don't really see it for what it is, well, what do you mean see it for what it is? Everybody shows up for a reason. You vibrate, you attract. Okay? Like attracts like. If you're vibrating at a very low vibration of self-hatred, you are going to attract people and situations in your life that are going to help you think more thoughts like that. When I had no self-worth, okay, I didn't even know what self-worth was. When I had none of that, I kept attracting situations and people in my life to use me, abuse me. Can I blame them? No. No, you can't blame anything around you. You are the creator of your reality. I wouldn't create this. Maybe not on purpose. Oh, hearing one individual, I would not create this. But you are. But you are. When you begin to really understand your thoughts are energy. You are emitting a frequency by your thoughts. Everything vibrates. So here you are. Here's this frequency. You're putting thoughts at there. Okay? Like attracts like. things that match your thoughts are going to show up in your life. So can you blame anybody around you? Nope. Nope. You're doing it. That was a hard pill for me to swallow. To think to think that I had created all that, but I didn't know any better. So don't despise where you've been. Don't despise where you're at. Know that everything is vibration. Everything has its own frequency. So that's why I'm so adamant about raising your vibration, about giving you understanding about why things happen. And nothing's really good or bad. It just is. It is what it is. There's no darkness. There's only absence of light. And why do I say that? Because if you're in the dark about something, like have you ever heard the saying, well, I'm in the dark about that? It's because you don't have any knowledge about something. Okay, so if you're in a dark place, you just have no knowledge about that one thing. But all it takes is a desire to want better. The match is lit. The light is lit. You're emitting a frequency of wanting better. It's a good thing. So now I want better. So what do? Well, don't sit there and say, I want better, I want better, I want better, because now all you're doing is validating that you don't have better right now. What do? Put it out there. Yes, I desire better. So what do? You got to get your vibration up. Once you get your vibration up, things happen. You have a spirit team. Yes, you have a spirit team. And they help you along the way. So when you get busy about doing things that you're passionate about, you're highly focused on something you love. Your spirit team can sit and whisper in your ear and lead you. That's when the synchronicities start. I loved my little bird. My little bird coming to the window saying hello. I was just like, I was so tickled. I loved it. I was so grateful. Yes, and I said thank you over and over. Thank you. That was just precious. Yeah. But that's what happens in life, you know. Good things will start showing up. Oh, things don't show up for me. There's that frequency. You don't understand. I've done this over and over and over again. What were you equipped with? Were you in the dark about how to get free? So I'm going to shed a little light. It's not that hard. Not really. Everything starts with just the desire, the thought. Everything starts with a thought. Sit down. You don't like where you're at? Okay, don't despise where you're at. Because if you despise where you're at, you get more of where you're at. Be grateful, acknowledge it, and say, this is my opportunity. This gives me the desire to want better. So I do. Start thinking about what it is that you want. Write it down. Start thinking about what it is that you really desire. And then get happy. Start doing things that you are passionate about. Well, you know, I keep having the thoughts, though. Oh, yes, that critic, I know him well. He shows up and he tells you, you know this is BS. You know this stuff don't work. You already know that you tried and tried and tried, and you know it's not going to work. What's so-and-so going to think? You've stood for this all your life, and now you're gonna just say that no, you're not going to do it this way anymore. Now you're going to do something else. What are people going to think? The heck with people. One of my favorite beings will tell you, so what? So what? Let people walk their path. You are on your path. What are you doing on your path? Is your path bringing you joy. You can do this. I can do this. Things show up in your life for reasons. You've attracted it. And where much is given, much is required. When you're given, what's the word I'm looking for, Spirit? When you start remembering who you really are, you're required to walk in that. You embody it. So say, that was something. Embody, what do you mean embody? Well, here's the thing. If I tell you, hey, in order to swim in that swimming pool, you have to take these necessary steps before you can enter the pool. Now you have that knowledge. So how do you embody that knowledge? You do as you've been taught. You're going to take the necessary steps before you enter the pool. Let's see if I can find it better. If I believe something to be true, that if I have faith, that if I put my desire out there, and I have faith, and I have knowing, that is when I take these proper steps, like have the desire, write it down, get busy about something I'm passionate about, I'm embodying that truth. And it has to come. It has to come to pass. Now, it may not be automatic. That's where a lot of people fall. Well, I put it out there and that was my desire. And, nothing happened. Well, look what happened with the bird. While I was sitting at my window, I was looking, I said, oh, why don't you just come on by and say hi? It didn't happen right then. But it happened. Yeah, and it was so sweet. But anyway, so yes, I don't despise this girl right here. This girl was getting ready to go on the ride of her life after she'd already been through quite an ordeal over and over and over again. This girl right here had been married 4 times. Oh my God, 4 times. Yes, 4 times this girl right here had been married because she thought she was supposed to be married. You wasn't any kind of woman unless she was married. Well, I know better now. So, yes, this girl had been married 4 times. She had a couple of bad relationships. She had seen and been through much suffering. And she could still smile. And she still had a desire in her heart for more. Why? Because she loved God and she was learning to love herself. She wasn't where she wanted to be yet. But she was smiling because she was grateful. She just knew. She had a knowing that it was going to get better. No matter what anybody around her said, oh, I don't know how you can believe that stuff. I don't see anything happening in your life. How can you be so nice? What do you want to be so nice for? What, people, if you don't show people, you mean business, I've had all kind of people tell me all kind of stuff. But, if you believe that way, you're going to go to hell. I was in hell. I was in my own hell. So yes, I still smiled. I still had the desire in my heart. Yeah. Don't despise where you've been. Don't hate it. Don't hate where you are. Look at it as an opportunity. Be grateful and move up. Move on. You have forever. We are eternal beings. We are infinite. It's okay. Have fun. Have fun with it. Get excited about things. If you have an off day, well, sit with that. Sit with that. I have sat with myself in a funk and loved me anyway. Yeah. I'm going to leave that there. I'm going to get my clothes out the dryer. Okay, so I hope you enjoy the rest of your Friday. Don't despise where you've come from. Don't hate where you're at. Be in a good frame of mind of knowing that everything works out. You just gotta want it to. Yes. Get busy. Get passionate about what you're doing. My name is Nayoka Lynn. I hope you enjoy the rest of your Friday. Namaste.